Okay, part 11. Here we go.
Along those
Those
lines.
were the words you would use.
That's the words I would use, yes, sir.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Mr. Bryan advised y'all, did he not, that he believed that he was traveling at no more than 10 to 15 miles an hour when the video that was released to the public, that speed vehicle was moving at the time?
I believe so, sir. I don't know if he got that specific with the mileage, but I was told that, in my understanding, was indicated he was moving at a slow rate of speed.
The video makes it look like the vehicle's moving at a higher rate of speed than it was.
I believe so, yes, sir.
And that's one of the things that endowed reporter is going to help verify.
It could. I don't know if it's going to help in this particular instance.
And the total distance of
So this pursue and hunt, the words that you used, was a car driving 10 to 15 miles an hour. Really?
the trip that Mr. Bryan made that day, in actuality appears to be much shorter than it might appear, just looking at the map.
Yes, sir. I would guess so. If I understand your question correctly, the map may look further. When you actually drive it, it doesn't seem as far. Is that what you're asking?
Listening to someone describe it, it sounds like Mr. Bryan's vehicle went a lot further than it really did that day.
I don't.
Okay, well, we're going to try to think it from a different perspective.
Okay.
I'm not going to play with maps. I'm no good with them. Okay. But with the court's permission, I will borrow the easel. It is kind of helpful. Hello, isn't it, sir? Hold on 1 second. Okay. I'm going to give you this marker, okay?
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't see and make it out on the monitor. Can I reposition so I can better see? Thank you.
And is there any suggestion as to the better way to set this up? I'm all ears.
No, sir.
All right.
However you choose to do it is fine by me.
Officer Dial, I'm showing you what's basically a blank piece of poster board with a long line across it and timeline written at the top.
Okay, sir.
The goal is, on my left, in your right, put the time of the shooting. On my right and your left, put the time that Mr. Arbery goes into the house, the English residence.
Okay.
You are familiar, and I'm going to leave this with you, and I'm going to step back out without trying not to injure myself or anybody else. You have looked at the New York Times recreation that's some guy named Malachi?
Yeah, I'll view it
Scottish
briefly.
dude?
Yes, I'll view it briefly.
I didn't see the New York Times timeline. Shit. I'm behind the curve here.
We all know he didn't get it exactly right, but he begins with the video from inside the English residence, or the video across the street, where Mr. Arbery walks up to the, jogs up, we'll just leave that for another day, comes up into the house. And that video purports to be at 12:46 p.m. Now, there's some question as to whether that's accurate or not.
Yes, sir. I don't believe that that's accurate.
Your recollection is, what time does Mr. Arbery walk up to the house?
Well, the problem is finding a consistent time here. So the best indication I have in this investigation of a consistent timeline that we can establish is utilizing the 911 call data. That's one clock. And what we have is, at 1:08, a call was made by Mr. Albanese that Mr. Arbery is inside the residence.
I'm sorry, Sir Tony would prefer that his mother would prefer to call him by Albanese.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure, they don't take it personally.
Okay.
You know.
But that's at 1:08. So while you can look at other video of the time, it can be off by several minutes, which sometimes is not a matter of concern. But when you're dealing with this time frame, to be more exact, to use one, I guess, clock, and the best one to do is the 911 center. So at 1:08, the call comes in that Mr. Arbery is inside the residence.
Right, but you have.
But we don't know how long he was in there before the person saw him and called. Or what did the 911 caller say? Did they say, I just saw him walk in, or I see him wandering around? That would dictate how long he was in the house or if he was actually there. But I'm not sure where he's going here with this.
Video.
I do, yes, sir.
And you can look at the timestamp on the video when Mr. Arbery goes in the residence, the length that he's in there, and the time that he comes out. And you compare that to the time on the 911 call. In fact, Mr. Arbery was there since about 1:04 at the house.
Yes, sir, but like I said, again.
Ah, good for this defense attorney. He was on the video camera in the house at 1:04. And if the call came in at 1:08, he was in there approximately 4 minutes. We have a pretty good time frame. I mean, I think what this defense attorney is going to is We're talking like this was a long chase of 3 and 4 hours, and they went over and they stalked and pursued and hunted him. And I think what he's going to find out is this entire hunt, entire incident probably didn't last more than 10 minutes, maybe 15. And we're talking about pursuing and hunting like it's went on forever. It may even be shorter than that. We'll see.
Again, though, you're talking about looking at the time on the video as it compares to the 911 call time.
I understand. But the incident, and we could argue the niceties of it, but Mr. Arbery goes into the house, and the evidence would suggest around 1:04 p.m.
Okay, sir.
Okay, well, if you'll go right 1:04 on the left, on your left, at the beginning of the timeline. Okay. All right. And then the 911 call is at 1:08.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. The shooting, as best you can determine, takes place at 1:16, 1:18?
1:15.
1:15. Again, the County Police Department arrives at 1:16?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we believe the shooting took place.
So, the shooting happened at 1:15. He was in the house at 1:04 or 1:08. That means this entire incident was 8 or 9 minutes. And they're talking like this was a pursue, hunting. They were after this guy. They chased him all over the neighborhood. Man, 8 minutes ain't that long.
1:15.
Greg, that's when Greg Michael was on 911, and that is approximately when it picks up. Then you hear him making the statement. So the shooting happened within a few seconds of him on the 911.
So on the right-hand side, put 1:15.
Okay.
Now the New York Times, which is certainly not evidence, but their investigation suggests that the incident is 12 minutes in length. We're going to go with 11 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, the full video that Mr. Bryan provided to the Gwinn County Police Department, and by the way, y'all see this, you took his cell phone for the third time in a week, right?
Yeah.
I won't ask you when we're going to see that phone again, but putting that aside for now, full video is 30 seconds.
I believe that's right. Yes, sir.
All right. Can you move 2 minutes, estimated as best you can there? Come back where the
That looks like their difficulties. I don't know what happened, this choppiness, so I missed that.
Mr. Bryan's video begins. Understanding this is not a trick, it's not scientific.
Yeah, I know. I'm not very good at estimating like that. You said it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I believe.
I believe it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Maybe if you want to double check your record, maybe it's 2 minutes 40. Somebody may have a better idea of that.
No, I think you're approximately correct, Counselor. So, okay, go on.
All right. So somewhere between 1:12 and 1:13 is when the video goes on. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. I think that's correct.
And you know, without spoiling the suspense for the American people, it's fair to say a good bit of the video that has been released is a picture of the floorboard of Mr. Bryan's motor vehicle. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
But to be fair, that video doesn't turn on at the beginning of this county. Mr. Bryan's role in this begins when he's sitting, working on his front porch. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes,
And
sir.
that was his statement to y'all.
Yes, sir.
And to Gwinn County PD.
Yes, sir.
He was working on his porch, repairing doing some woodwork on the porch.
I don't recall
Okay.
what his.
And he indicated that he was playing the radio at the time.
I don't recall that.
Okay.
I don't recall that.
And I believe he indicated in his interview with y'all that he was somewhat hearing impaired due to too many years listening to loud music.
That sounds correct.
That's correct. All right. Now, you may not know the exact location, but is it fair to say that the distance between the English residence and the Bryan residence is considerable?
Yes, sir. I mean, depends on how you would term considerable. I would not term it as close. No, sir.
There's certainly no issue that he could have heard or seen what was going on down at the English residence.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, sir. There's no way.
Okay.
I see where he's going. He's making a good picture. By the time they saw this guy and the time they shot him was a very short period, which goes things were happening very fast. There wasn't a whole lot of time for this hunting and pursuing. But we'll see if he gets there.
Based on the recreation of his path of travel by Officer Sechrist and the other agents on May 13th, which I believe, that was video recorded, was it not?
It was, yes, sir.
And I'm sure there's reasons why you don't want to share that today, but that's a conversation for a different day. But, well, if you do, we can set the equipment up, but I don't think we really want to go there today, do we? Okay. Most of Mr. Bryan's role in this case starts from his security camera video. We've been able to identify the timestamp, the reliability of the timestamp on his home security system.
I have not, sir. Like I said, the home security system is with my technology people that are going to do an analysis of it, go through that. So I'm hoping that's information I'll be able to obtain from them, but I do not have it as of yet.
Based on the video reenactment that was done with the DVI, and all the previous statements, the time frame from Mr. Bryan's involvement from when Mr. Arbery and the McMichaels go by his residence to the video camera turns on, maybe a minute.
I'm not certain of that, Counselor.
Certainly no more than 2 minutes.
From the time when...
From the time they go by his house
until
the
he's
video
pulling
camera
out?
comes on.
Okay.
The video, the home video.
Yes, sir. Oh, whoa. Yes, sir. I don't know about that. I don't know how long it would be from the time that
Okay.
he's in front of their house until he starts his...
I'll put it in a
video.
different way. Based on the recreation, how many feet did Mr. Bryan's car travel from the moment he pulled out of his driveway to when the video camera comes on?
That I don't know, sir. I believe he's on. The camera happens when he's on Holmes Road, when he turns it on.
So, all right. So let me, one moment.
Yeah, I don't quite see what the point of all this, Counselor, so let's get rid of it.
When we look at the time frame involved, Officer Dial, isn't it fair to say that Ronnie Bryan's involvement is at most the last 1/3 of this incident, maybe less than 1/4? The vast majority of the activity in this case precedes his involvement in it.
I'm not even aware of the time, and I'm saying absolutely. Because this guy doesn't get involved until he sees these other guys go by his house, and this is, since the apartment isn't close, it's toward the end. I bet you this guy that they charged, that's in jail right now, awaiting felony charges, probably got in his car and followed for less than 2 to 3 minutes.
I would say the last half of it, Counselor. I don't know if I would go as far as to say the last third of it.
It's a conversation perhaps for a different day. Mr. Bryan's missed at least half of the action. In no disrespect to Mr. Arbery, half of the activity, half of the events, he's missed half of that before they go by his house.
I think that would be fair, yes, Counselor.
And there's no way he could possibly know what's actually happening.
No, yes, sir. I think that's correct.
Okay. Now,
Then why did you charge him, and why is he in jail?
in your testimony, you indicated that Mr. Bryan made several attempts, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but several somewhat ambiguous, several attempts to block Mr. Arbery's path or change his direction.
Yes, that's correct.
The first of those occurs when he pulls out of his driveway, am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, you watched the video yourself, have you not? The reenacted video prepared by Agent Secret.
I've seen parts of it. I don't know if I've seen the entire of the video.
How can you be the case agent and you didn't watch? There's only 4 freaking videos, you said, maybe 5. How can you be the case agent and you didn't watch all the videos? This guy's getting more full of shit as I listen to him.
You've been out to Mr. Bryan's house, have you not?
I have, yes, sir.
And there's a tree and a big bunch of bushes there on the left as you pull out of the driveway.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we say that Mr. Bryan was trying to block Mr. Arbery, did Mr. Bryan not tell you, and isn't that consistent with your observation, that his view down the street of the McMichael's truck and Mr. Arbery was very limited?
Yes, sir. My understanding was his intention was to turn left, but then as he pulled out, he saw Mr. Arbery, so he pulled in to try to block him at that time.
Well,
So when he, I mean, if your question is when he came up with the mental decision, the plan to block him, I believe that was when he was intending to turn left, saw him, and then decided to try to block him in.
so he didn't turn fully left. He turned partially left.
Well, I don't know if he actually made the turn. He didn't get that specific in the interviews that I'm aware of. He just indicated that he was pulling out,
Okay.
saw them. That's my understanding, Counsel.
Well, we're not going to quote those details today. He pulls out in the street, and Mr. Arbery runs to the drainage area that's to the side of the street.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the first time that you contend that Mr. Bryan tried to block the path of travel of Mr. Arbery.
I believe that was what, I believe that was the statement that was given. Yes, sir.
That your investigation, that's what you believe.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the second time that Mr. Arbery tries to block the path of Mr. Arbery?
Mr. Bryan indicates that he tried several times to block him in his statement that he gave to the Glenn County PD on the day that this occurred, that there were multiple instances that he tried to block him in. It is also referenced at the time on Holmes Road that he tried to block him in as well.
Well, I'm trying to go through them one at a time. We've discussed where he pulls out into the street, and Mr. Arbery actually turns out to be right there. We've discussed that.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next time? I understand from the Glenn County, the statement given to the Glenn County Police Department is very difficult to get into some of those details. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. They didn't. You're asking me to parse out exactly the location of where he made this move, whatever. That was not covered in the Glenn County Police Department interview. It was just his statement that he tried multiple times to try to block him in, to stop.
So you charge him with something that you didn't take the time to verify whether his statement was accurate. You have no corroborating evidence that he tried multiple times. You're just charging him based on his statement. For those people not involved in law enforcement, you can't arrest somebody. If I walk into the jail tomorrow and say, hey guys, I gotta confess, I shot JFK, it was me. They can't arrest me on my statement. They have to corroborate and find other supporting evidence that my statement is believable and accurate. And what this guy is saying right now is we arrested him based on his statement that he said multiple times, but we didn't try to confirm, or we didn't pin him down, or we don't know how many times or where. Man, this is a shitty investigation. You know why? Because the governor called his boss. That's why.
Stop him, detain him, whatever phrasing you would like to use in reference to that.
Well, Mr. Bryan never used the word detain, did he?
He did not, no, sir. He said
Stop,
block, stuff like that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Which to me means detain.
Well, we may disagree about the legal consequences of the facts, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. But when Mr. Bryan came to see y'all May 11th, of course, that conversation was to fill y'all in on events since he had left the Glenn County Police Station on February 23rd. Those were the parameters of the interview.
That was the parameters of the interview, yes, sir. But
By mutual agreement.
yes, sir.
Okay. So y'all didn't have an opportunity that day to get back into the events of February.
You notice his attorney keeps asking him questions that are easy for him to answer. He's confirming what he said. He's making this guy feel comfortable with him. He's doing a pretty good job of keeping this cop's defenses down so he can step on his pee-pee here.
23rd.
That's correct, sir. I think that was the agreement that they would not explore that part in that day.
And then on May 13th, after the polygraph results came back and furnished to the GBI, Mr. Bryan agreed to answer all the questions.
Yes, sir. I believe so.
But there was some issue as to Mr. Bryan's ability to articulate the path of travel, which had been your concern.
I don't know if there was problems with him articulating. There may be problems with us having a good understanding of what he was trying to relay. And I don't know where the fault was, but I think the decision was made to videotape and have him drive back to help us get an idea of path of travel.
Yes. So when he goes back to Cecilia Shores with the agents and takes them back through to this video reenactment of his path of travel, at that point, y'all have information you can answer more specifically. What's the second time that Mr. Bryan attempts to change or block the path of Mr. Arbery's travel?
Counselor, I don't know if they went into those kind of details. That was not important to me of the exact location of where he tried to block.
Wasn't important because we were going to charge him anyway. Why? Because the governor called his boss.
Me and like I said, my understanding and my review of the interview Glenn County did on the day that this occurred, he admitted to making multiple attempts. And you're asking me where these occurred at. I do not know if those were covered during the recreation or not. Okay.
I think, Agent Dial, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. There's 40 gigabytes of evidence in this case. I mean,
Yeah.
no one wants to be in your shoes.
Yes, sir, I
okay?
understand.
But to be fair, you actually haven't watched the video reenactment that Mr. Bryan spent the afternoon working with your agents on.
No, sir. I watched some of it, but not the entirety like I testified to earlier.
Okay. So your testimony that Mr. Bryan attempted to block or change the travel of Mr. Arbery several times is based solely on the Glenn County Police Department interview.
No, sir. The agent that did the interview with
That's a great question. And now the cop said, no, that's not true. Well, your whole damn testimony up to this point says it's true. Let's see how he gets out of this.
Agent Secret
Yes.
reported back to me
Yes.
the salient details of his interview with Mr. Bryan. That's how that works in an investigation. The agents do interviews and they report back to the case agent, whichever, what.
So now he's going to talk a lot of minutia and make it seem real complicated, and I'm going to educate you, and I'm going to help you understand on why I'm freaking lying, and I don't want to tell you that I'm bullshitting you, but I didn't watch the video, and I don't know that the guy tried several times. I was just told by another cop that he said that in an interview, so I'm going to charge the guy without trying to corroborate anything. He's not going to say that, but that's what he's really saying.
Salient information they obtain. Later on, they then prepare a report. Later on, when I get the report, that's when it's reviewed and gone through.
Okay.
That's how the process of an investigation goes.
And we all know Officer Secret is a very capable agent.
Very much so, yes,
But
sir.
for the sake of the judge, he's trying to ascertain whether there's probable cause to support the arrest warrant that alleges control the direction in detention, confined in detention. We've talked about the one incident when Mr. Bryan pulls out of the driveway. And finds Mr. Arbery is not down the street being chased by the Michaels. He's coming back right in front of him, literally. We've discussed that. Okay.
Yes, sir, he pulls out and tries to block him according to his statement.
Okay. What is the next time on this timeline? When is the next time that Mr. Bryan attempts to do that, and how does he do that? Or are you in a position to say today?
I am. He made several attempts with his vehicle to try to block in to...
See, he's again testifying as this as a fact that he's corroborated and that he has evidence to support what he's saying. When in fact, all he's got is a statement from another cop that said, hey, when I took a statement from him, he admitted to trying several times. Oh shit, we're going to run with that. We're going to charge him with an accessory or whatever the hell they charge him with. It's ridiculous.
Block in Mr. Arbery as he was going down the street from his residence to the intersection with Holmes Road there.
You said that. What I'm asking you, and if I'm not saying it correctly, feel free to help me understand the confusion. You said that happened several times. We've discussed the first time.
Yes, sir.
Several usually means 2 or more. Tell me the details, if you have them, for the benefit of the judge. Tell me the details about the second time, the next time, that Mr. Bryan attempted to block the path.
This guy just can't say, I don't know. I'm only testifying to what the cop told me. The cop said that he stated that. And then you can follow up, why didn't you corroborate? Why do you take a statement and use that statement to charge my client with zero corroboration of any other evidence?
Or direction of travel of Mr. Arbery.
I am repeating his words of what he said he did. He did not say specifically, and this time I did that. He made the statement that several times he attempted to use his vehicle to block in Mr. Arbery. He delineated the first time it happened. Then he said several times. That also is confirmed with Greg McMichael's statement, which indicates that Mr. Bryan was trying to block in Mr. Arbery.
Well, that's good. But what I'm saying is, when your agents take Mr. Bryan out to Satilla Shores to create this video,
Yes, sir.
and lead him through that video, what is the second incident that's on that video?
Judge, I'm going to object. This has been asked repeatedly and answered.
It hasn't been answered. It's been bullshitted, glossed over, and he's giving statement that without facts. He's answered it, but it's a bullshit answer, and it doesn't really answer the question.
I agree. I think he's answered that question several times. He's answered it 2 or 3 times, Counselor, so let's move on to something else.
He ought to come back with, isn't it true that you don't have any evidence that he stopped multiple times other than his statement? And see if he can get a yes out of that.
You testified earlier about the attempted carjacking of Mr. Bryan's vehicle.
I'm going to object to the characterization of attempted carjacking. That's mischaracterizing the testimony and evidence that's been presented here.
Would you repeat the
I'll
question?
rephrase. What do you call in law enforcement parlance where someone attempts to take the motor vehicle of another person while they're still in the vehicle? What do we call that in law enforcement?
Judge, I object. It's not relevant.
What are you talking about? What issue is this?
Yeah, I'll back up and try and come at it a different way.
Arbery tried to open the damn door to the car. What do you call that? Vehicle tampering? Attempted stolen vehicle? Attempted carjacking? What do you call it when a guy's holding a stick or a weapon or a club or a stabbing instrument? You can call it a stick if it sounds better. You can call it a big toothpick if it sounds better. He's got a stabbing instrument that can be used as a weapon, and he's trying to open a door that supposedly he's scared of these people.
Okay? When Mr. Bryan spoke to the Glenn County Police Department on February 23rd, he indicated that there was a time when he felt that Mr. Bryan was trying to get inside his vehicle.
Mr. Arbery.
Mr. Arbery was trying to get inside.
He felt Mr. Arbery was going to try to grab the door handle and open the door. Yes, sir. But his statement was that Mr. Arbery never actually grabbed the door handle nor attempted to open the door, but he felt like Mr. Arbery was going to make that attempt.
Oh, I thought he said he grabbed it earlier because I was wanting fingerprints. That's another reason to take fingerprints, to prove that he didn't grab the door. I bet these guys didn't fingerprint the freaking door. It's a BS case. They're only trying to push their political agenda. So, let me get this straight, officer. When he said he attempted to grab the car door, you didn't take that as gospel like you took it for gospel when my client said, I blocked him several times, and you took that as gospel and charged my client. But when the other defendant said he grabbed my car, you didn't believe that, so you didn't follow up or do anything on that. This is such a biased investigation, it's ridiculous.
So he sped up his vehicle.
Okay, well, see, this is what I'm confused about. You say he sped up his vehicle, but he sped up his vehicle in reverse. That was his statement to the GBI on May 13th, wasn't it?
Okay, sir. I don't have that detail, sir.
And when he talked to the Boone County Police Department on February 23rd, his testimony then...
Now they're not friends anymore. Notice how the tone has changed? Now he was friendly, got what he needed, and now he's going to poke holes in it. Now they're not friendly anymore. But Rick, I thought they were friends. Well, they were, before they needed the meat and potatoes.
And subsequently was that he felt he made a terrible mistake because Mr. Arbery turned back towards him, and he felt Mr. Arbery was going to get in his vehicle.
I know he testified that he felt that Mr. Arbery was going to get in his vehicle, but I also know that he also continued to pursue Mr. Arbery after that event.
And we'll come to that. But at the time that Mr. Arbery is in contact with Mr. Bryan's motor vehicle, Mr. Bryan is traveling in reverse, attempting to get away from Mr. Arbery. He can't get any closer. So do you have some evidentiary basis for the suggestion today that Mr. Bryan's vehicle was moving forward rather than in reverse when Mr. Arbery made contact with the vehicle?
No, sir. All I have is Mr. Bryan's statement that he sped up the vehicle. I do not know the direction of travel of his vehicle, whether he went backwards or forward when he sped up. I'm going by his statement on the day of the murder.
So we arrested Mr. Bryan on the assumption that his vehicle was moving forward.
On the day of the murder or the day of the shooting or the day of the incident? He's starting to slide in incriminating terms, which is why the defense attorney needs to be saying Mr. Arbery was fleeing a crime scene. He was running from a crime scene. He committed a crime of trespassing and possible burglary. And they haven't said it once.
Even though on May 13th, he told Officer Jason Seacrest clearly and emphatically that he was trying to go backwards to get distance between himself.
Objection, compound question, argumentative, relevance.
You can answer the question, and let's leave that subject.
Yes, sir.
I think we got that.
No, sir. That was not the basis of my arrest of Mr. Bryan. It was his statement that he attempted to block, pin, whatever phrasing you would like to use, but detain Mr. Arbery without legal authority, and by doing so, he contributed to Mr. Arbery's death.
Now, when you say without legal authority, are you saying citizens don't have the right to detain people? Because he's wrong. He's full of shit. He did have legal authority. They have a citizen's arrest clause that says you can arrest people. I haven't read it, but he's wrong.
And on February 23rd, when the Glenn County Police Department interviewed him, and on March 13th, when the GBI interviewed him, he indicated on both occasions that Mr. Arbery, for whatever reason, looked mad, looked angry.
I don't recall that, Counselor.
You don't recall that?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, of course, if a bunch of white people that you didn't know were chasing around with cars and guns, you might have reason to be mad, right?
Are you talking about me or Mr. Arbery?
Any young black man in South Georgia being chased by a bunch of white guys with guns would have reason to be mad, wouldn't they?
Just have a call for speculation, obviously.
Question.
I'll rephrase.
Yeah, please do.
Mr. Bryan indicated that he felt threatened by Mr. Arbery's actions. Am I correct?
I believe he felt that Mr. Arbery was going to try to open the door, if that's your question about that part.
Right.
Yes, sir. But
Now-
then again, he also then continued to pursue Mr. Arbery, and we're basing it on Mr. Bryan's statement to that effect.
Okay. And you dispute that a reasonable man sitting in Mr. Bryan's shoes at that moment in time would have probable cause to believe that his motor vehicle was about to be stolen?
Objection that would call for speculation as to what his client was thinking.
Sustained.
Is there any question that Mr. Arbery was authorized let me rephrase. Is there any question in your mind that Mr. Bryan was himself personally authorized under Georgia law to effectuate a citizen's arrest for carjacking and for attempted theft of a motor vehicle and attempted assault and battery after the incident with Mr. Arbery on the side of the road?
Objection twofold. One, it mischaracterizes the evidence, and two, that's really a question of law and a source of argument, but not a facts question in terms of what this court must do in judging probable cause for the issuance of the arrest warrant.
Sustain the objection.
We'll move on, Your Honor. Thank you.
This attorney's going to be good in front of the jury. But Rick, I thought he was friends with the cop. Yeah, that's why you don't let your guard down. But the other side is, whatever, it's a game. It's your job to try and trip me up, to trip the government up, and to make our case weak. Knock yourself out. I'm here to testify to what I did, how I did it, what the facts are, and it is what it is. Be honest, I don't give a shit if your client walks or goes to prison. I'm here to get the truth. And that's the way cops ought to be testifying and ought to be doing investigations. That is not the case in this. This investigation is being done because the governor called this guy's boss and made him the case agent.
All right. So your testimony today about the interview with the Boone County Police Department on February 23rd, nothing that's happened since February 23rd in your investigation has changed in any meaningful way your understanding of the case with respect to Mr. Bryan's involvement.
Well, sir, I think we've gotten more information concerning the events of that day, how they transpired, what role Mr. Bryan's actions played into that, from what was available on February 23rd, as well as, that we got more video evidence. There's just a more complete picture of what occurred that day.
Well, certainly, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation has spared no effort in thoroughly investigating this case from every conceivable angle. Am I correct?
We don't need your comments about that investigation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So what's the question?
The question is, in terms of the probable cause to arrest Mr. Bryan, what changed between February 23rd and May 21st other than Mr. Bryan publishing the...
When the judge shuts down your questioning without an objection, he's sending you a message that he's kind of getting irritated. He thinks you're grandstanding. He thinks you're wasting the court's time. You're not asking relevant questions. Move on. If you can't get the answer you want, move on.
results of his polygraph results to the media.
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of that. The question is the facts known at the time of the issuance of the warrant. Whether that warrant was obtained months down the road or whether it was obtained the day of is really not pertinent and relevant in terms of what this court must decide about the probable cause for the issuance of the arrest warrant at the time it was obtained.
I sustain the objection.
What incriminating evidence as to Mr. Bryan can you point out to the court that has been developed since February 23rd?
It's the same question, Judge, and I renew my objection.
Sustained.
It sucks when you're trying to get information and your objections are sustained. It's like, damn. And I've been as a cop on a stand, you're like, damn, I want to answer that. And they won't let you because they're playing these freaking lawyer games and lawyer tricks and, all this other hide the rabbit shit. And you're like, just let me answer the damn question. It's a relevant question. I got an answer. Let me answer it. No. We got to play the game. If they can't get it the right way, we can't let them have it. This isn't the court of law and getting facts. This is the court of lawyers playing games and judges being in charge.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Right?
Very, very brief redirect.
Oh, dude. See, now if this dumbass DA should have just dropped it, and he's going to try to do cleanup, and now all three attorneys get a second bite of the apple in the sky. If this DA did not ask any questions, say, Your Honor, I have no redirect, we're ready to submit it for your ruling, it would have been over. But no, the DA has to ask, let's hear what his important question is, and let's see if the other attorney... Now, these other attorneys, just to screw the DA over, will start following up. Now, any questions that the other DAs ask, or the other defense attorneys ask, has to be directly result of this question. They can't go to any other place, because everybody's finished. So now, because the prosecution wants to open up a new line of questioning, now all the defense attorneys get to question and get to readdress this new line of questioning. That's why it's not a good idea to open a case if you got your win. They're going to hold these guys over.
So there's no confusion about the timeline here, Investigator Dial, piecing better together the 911 phone calls in particular. Are you able to give the court an estimate of how long in total Mr. Arbery was running from the people that were chasing him?
Yes, sir. The best estimate, again, the 911 call came in at 1:08. At that point, Mr. Albanez, the individual who saw him going into the house, is calling 911. While he's on the phone with 911 is when Mr. Arbery comes out and runs down the road. So that's at 1:08. We have Greg McMichael on the phone, and he's on the phone with 911 when the shooting takes place. That's at 1:15. So you're talking about 7 minutes is what I estimate the event this occurred. Now, we also know that the first officer radio in arriving on scene at 1:16. So the event was done by 1:16.
All right, that's pretty good.
So that's my best estimate in reference to this event.
We're talking minutes, though.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure how that changes anything, but okay.
And you had talked on direct exam briefly about the firing position. I'm going to focus now on Travis McMichael and what you observed on the video that Mr. Bryan took. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir, I do.
For the benefit of the court, could you demonstrate what you saw and what that firing position looked like? If you will, you can even use the pointer. I believe you still have that in your pocket to show generally what that position looked like on the video.
Can I stand up, Your Honor?
Yeah.
While on the video, which if you focus on Travis McMichael's arms, you see the arms. With a rifle, you often have your arm extended, front arm, and that's what I saw. This is what I would refer as a firing stance. This arm is extended out holding a rifle.
Is that prior to any contact that you see between physical contact between Mr. Arbery and Travis McMichael?
Very much so, yes, sir.
Okay, so he pointed the gun at him to try to get him to stop. Why is that wrong? Cops do that every day to get people to stop. He was making what he thought was an arrest for a felony, and he was making a citizen's arrest. Why is that wrong? I don't get why this question was important.
For the purpose of our record, so we're not silent for our court reporter, what you did is you stood up on the witness stand, accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you extended that pointer and you held up both arms as if to aim that pointer
And the reason why he's saying this is to get it on the record for the transcript. He's explaining what he did.
towards me across the courtroom, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, you can take a seat, please. Judge, this is as much a point of clarification as anything else. I assume that this court has copies of the actual arrest warrants to pass upon?
Yes.
Okay. So you have no need for me to tender those as actual exhibits then, is that
You
accurate?
can tender them. I would like to have them in your record.
Remember, this is the third prosecutor. Now, cops can't search judges. We can't, what's called judge picking. If we don't like the answer from one judge, we can't go to another judge and to another judge until we get the answer we like. That's considered unethical. It's wrong. It's called judge shopping, and it defeats the purpose of a judicial review. However, the government went prosecuting shopping. They didn't like what the first prosecutor didn't do the case, so they got a second prosecutor. They didn't like that he didn't want to do the case, so they got this prosecutor. So do you think this prosecutor has a bias? Of course he does.
And cut up 3 exhibits, just
Okay.
Travis McMichael. I'm not apologies. The diagrams technically states 1, so states 2.
Lady looks like a damn bank robber and shit. She's going out robbing banks and shit. What the hell?
Apologies. The diagrams technically states 1, so states 2. William Bryan.
I'm bumping, trying to get through it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Notice the government doesn't have to wear a mask, but everyone else does. Rick, that's not right. He's the prosecutor, and we should trust him. All right, you do that.
Great. States
Of the state warden, Miss Miss, also of the state
for
my
costly
for felon.
at this time. McMichael with the Glenn County or Brunswick Judicial Circuit office in this case, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And when was the first contact that you were able to identify where defendant Greg McMichael was attempting to contact his former employer?
That would have been the day that the shooting occurred.
Do you know where he was when he attempted that contact?
Yes, the investigator told me to believe that he was still on scene. I believe. On scene at the Glenn County Police Department, I believe was a statement to me.
But the last topic that was covered by defense counsel for Mr. Bryan regarding the detention, was some of that detention or attempt to detain Ahmaud Arbery, was some of that actually captured on the video that you've reviewed?
Yes, are you talking about the cell phone?
I am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and describe what you could view for the last part of this leading to the actual shooting itself.
I'm sorry, could you describe that again? You're talking about?
Sure. Did any of that video
Notice he's sitting up, getting closer. Notice he's not leaning back anymore.
capture Mr. Bryan using his vehicle to attempt to redirect Ahmaud Arbery.
Yes, when the video opens, his vehicle is coming forward, Mr. Arbery's running, then he comes and you hear the car turning. All of that's depicted in the video.
Okay. And then thereafter, I think there's been some testimony that for a period of time, the video's on the floor, on his leg, or down, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
You can still hear the car gunning, though.
Yes, sir, you can hear the motor moving and running during the video.
And then the last portion of this chase, that's actually captured on the video as well.
It is, yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, so now the defense can only ask questions and redirect on the topics that the DA just brought up. They can't go back to stuff that was discussed before.
Court permission, I just wrote down one thing and I wanted to follow up based on, thank you, Judge. Special Agent, you were asked a few questions about Mr. Arbery's vehicle
Yes, sir.
that he kept at his home there at his mother's residence.
According to the neighbor that was interviewed in reference to it, yes, sir.
What kind of vehicle was that?
I can't recall offhand the make and model.
What kind of car Mr. Arbery drove?
So if he kept his vehicle at his mother's residence, was he living there or not living there? I still haven't got that determined yet.
Jump started and did the battery. You don't remember what kind of car that was?
I don't know, sir. I don't recall.
What about other cars that were kept at the Arbery residence? Do you know what those are?
I do not know, sir.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Anything further? Mr. Mike, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow. So, all right, so it's over. We went 41 minutes on this one. There is another video I'm seeing here of closing arguments. Maybe I'll try to do that tomorrow. I'm done tonight. All right, I'll make this a playlist. We'll end it there.